I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. Democrats are too nice.
They're too nice.
They don't go, and you are my ally, right? They don't go for the jugular. You don't go for that. When they go low, we go high.
No, when they go low, we should go lower.
Exactly.
That should be a reason you stop. So I thought, what would happen if someone was going through the change and it woke up their superpowers? Yeah.
Bill Maher just exposed Whoopi Goldberg's biggest secret on national TV. The moment he uttered those words, you could hear a pin drop in the studio. Whoopi's face turned pale as she realized her carefully crafted image was crumbling before millions of viewers. What did Maher reveal that left Whoopi speechless? And how will this change The View forever? The moment Bill Maher stepped onto The View's set, you could cut the tension with a knife. This wasn't going to be your typical celebrity chit-chat. No, something was different. The air crackled with anticipation as Maher took his seat, his eyes locked on Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi, usually the queen of quick comebacks and confident smirks, looked different. Was that a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes? The audience held its collective breath, sensing the storm that was about to break. Let's rewind for a second. Whoopi had been making waves lately, and not in a good way. Her controversial statements on The View had set social media on fire. She'd been defending progressive policies left and right, claiming that anyone who criticized them was just refusing to check their privilege. But here's the kicker, a lot of people weren't buying it anymore. Enter Bill Maher, the no-holds-barred comedian who's made a career out of calling out hypocrisy on both sides of the political aisle. As he settled into his seat, you could see the other hosts shifting uncomfortably. They knew what was coming and they weren't sure how to handle it. The cameras zoomed in on Whoopi's face, capturing every twitch, every blink. This was reality TV gold, folks. The tension in the studio was so thick you could practically taste it. Maher leaned forward, ready to drop his bombshell. The audience was on the edge of their seats.
Me too. So it's about waking up and realizing you're not the youngest thing in the room anymore.
Attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. It just happened to coincide. But can I just say this?
Well, she does not think that as you said to me in the break, you do not think that all the people who are for Trump are Nazis.
No, I don't.
You don't.
What was he going to say? How would Whoopi react? It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. You knew it was going to be bad, but you couldn't look away. And then, just like that, Maher broke the silence. His words hit like a sledgehammer. It's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid. Boom! The studio erupted in gasps and murmurs. Whoopi's eyes widened, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. This wasn't just another celebrity spat, folks. This was a turning point. Maher had just called out one of the most influential voices in daytime TV right to her face. And he wasn't done. He went on to challenge Whoopi's assertions directly, pointing out the flaws in her ideological framework. He questioned why so many of the policies she defended seemed to hurt the very people they claimed to help. It was a masterclass in dismantling arguments, and Whoopi was caught in the crosshairs. The other hosts looked like they wanted to melt into their chairs. They'd never seen Whoopi so thoroughly outmatched. It was like watching a chess grandmaster take on a rookie. Maher was 3 moves ahead, and Whoopi was scrambling to keep up. As Maher continued his calm but devastating critique, you could see the shock on Whoopi's face. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. She was used to being the one in control, the one with all the answers, but now she was struggling for words, grasping for her usual tactics, but coming up empty. The audience watched in stunned silence. This wasn't just entertainment anymore. This was a clash of ideologies playing out in real time. Maher was highlighting the growing divide between reality and ideological extremism, and doing it with surgical precision. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more intense, the first commercial break hit. The cameras cut away, leaving viewers at home on the edge of their seats. What had just happened? And more importantly, what was going to happen next?
Be canceled or put off her show. As much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement, free speech. She should be there.
When you talk about being a racist, I was saying, you can't call this racism. This was evil. You hired me 4 times and you didn't know what you were getting? How dumb are you?
As the show returned from the break, the tension in the studio was electric. Bill Maher had a glint in his eye that spelled trouble for Whoopi Goldberg. He wasn't just prepared, he was armed to the teeth. With a calm demeanor masking his ruthless strategy, Maher was about to expose Whoopi's hypocrisy in a way that would shock everyone on set. Maher wasted no time getting down to business. He started by addressing Whoopi directly, his voice steady but filled with purpose. "Whoopi, let's talk about free speech," he began. "You've been quite vocal about it in the past, haven't you?" The audience held their breath, sensing that something big was about to go down. What happened next was nothing short of a verbal onslaught. Maher began listing off Whoopi's past statements, each one more damning than the last. He pointed out how she had criticized others for expressing opinions different from her own, all while claiming to be a champion of free speech. The hypocrisy was laid bare for all to see. Whoopi tried to interject, her face a mix of surprise and frustration, but Maher was ready for her. Every time she opened her mouth, he had a counter-argument locked and loaded. It was like watching a master chess player, always 3 moves ahead. The other hosts of The View watched in stunned silence. They'd seen their fair share of heated debates, but this was different. Maher wasn't just winning an argument, he was dismantling Whoopi's entire persona piece by piece. But Maher wasn't done. He had receipts, and he was about to pull them out. Video clips, tweets, and articles flashed across the screen, each one contradicting Whoopi's claims. The audience's reaction shifted from gasps to murmurs as the truth unfolded before their eyes. Whoopi's face was a canvas of emotions. Shock gave way to anger, then to something rarely seen on the outspoken host: defeat. She struggled to find words, her usual quick wit failing her in the face of Maher's relentless assault.
Historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
And so
migrate.
why
Joy is a wonderful human being, and she should not be afraid that people are going to attack her because she said that thing about the swastika on the cap.
Serious and difficult and dangerous because of the person in the White House. I think it's incumbent upon all good people to speak out if they can.
Then came the moment that would be replayed on social media for weeks to come. Maher turned his attention to Whoopi's stance on social justice. "You talk a big game about helping communities," he said, his voice cutting through the tension. "But have you looked at the results of the policies you support?" The studio fell silent as Maher laid out his case. He pointed to rising crime rates in cities with lenient policies that Whoopi had vocally supported. The implications were clear. The very communities Whoopi claimed to champion were suffering as a result of her misguided advocacy. But Maher wasn't done. He shifted gears, addressing the broader issue of media focus. "While you and your colleagues in the media obsess over identity politics and cultural purity tests," he said, his voice dripping with disdain, "real Americans are worried about putting food on the table. They're concerned about job security and inflation, but that doesn't make for good TV, does it?" The audience was captivated. This wasn't just another celebrity spat, it was a takedown of the entire media establishment, with Whoopi as its unwitting poster child.
Said, well, there's a lot of family names. We've got a lot of different people in our families. I like Goldberg.
All right.
And I said, okay, well, we'll try it. It is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race. Now,
Basically, there's old school liberals, which I would mostly count myself as, old school conservatives. There's still some of those
You've
left.
changed, though.
As if sensing that Whoopi was on the ropes, Maher delivered his coup de grace. He turned to address the elephant in the room, the hypocrisy of Hollywood elites. "You preach about fairness from your mansion in the hills," he said, his words cutting deep. "How can you claim to understand the struggles of everyday Americans when you live in a bubble of luxury?" The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. Whoopi Goldberg, the queen of comebacks, was left speechless. For the first time in The View's history, she had no witty retort, no biting comeback. She simply sat there, stunned into silence. As Whoopi struggled to respond, it was clear that the power dynamic on set had shifted. The once dominant host had been reduced to a spectator in her own show. The audience watched in awe as Maher stood tall, having not just won an argument, but potentially changed the course of The View forever. The View's carefully crafted image was about to shatter. With Whoopi cornered, the drama was far from over. As Bill Maher continued his verbal assault, Joy Behar couldn't sit idly by. She jumped in to defend her longtime co-host, but Maher was ready for her too.
Really want to be with someone who's not complete? That means you have to take care of them. You have to always be with them to make them better.
That when you hired me, I headlined, babe, at your casino, which I might have continued to play had you not run it into the ground.
And Ted and John F. Kennedy, they were tough. They weren't this kind of too nice Democrat.
They were busy getting laid.
Hold on, Joy interjected, her voice rising. You can't just come on our show and attack Whoopi like this. But Maher wasn't backing down. He fired back with another round of biting commentary, exposing the hypocrisy not just in Whoopi, but in The View's entire approach to controversial topics. The studio audience was visibly divided. Some cheered for Maher, clearly agreeing with his no-holds-barred takedown. Others rallied behind Whoopi and Joy, shouting their support. The split in the crowd mirrored the broader societal divide on the issues being discussed. It was a powder keg ready to explode. Behind the scenes, panic set in. Producers frantically debated whether to cut to commercial. The carefully maintained image of The View was unraveling before their eyes. Should they pull the plug before things got even uglier? But the hosts weren't done yet. Sunny Hostin, sensing the danger, tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, she began. But it was too late. The debate had spiraled out of control, and Maher wasn't about to let up.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So she was, everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. And Democrats are too nice.
They're too nice.
They don't go, and you are my ally, right?
Right.
They don't go for the jugular. You don't
Right.
go for that. When they go low, we go high.
No, when they go low, we should go lower.
Exactly.
That should be a reason you stop. So I thought, what would happen if someone was going through the change and it woke up their superpowers? Yeah.
The bigger picture? Maher scoffed. The bigger picture is that this show has become an echo chamber. You claim to champion free speech, but only when it aligns with your views. His words hit home, exposing the cracks in The View's facade of unity. The hosts began to take sides. Joy doubled down on her defense of Whoopi, while Sunny tried to maintain a neutral stance. The carefully choreographed dynamic they'd cultivated over years of working together was crumbling before the viewers' eyes. Whoopi, still reeling from Maher's initial attack, struggled to regain her footing. She attempted to steer the conversation back to her comfort zone, suggesting that progressive policies uplift marginalized communities. But Maher was ready with a counter-argument, exposing contradictions in her stance. You talk about uplifting communities, Maher said, but have you looked at the rising crime rates in cities with the very policies you've supported? How can you claim to understand the struggles of everyday Americans while living in luxury?
You know, we're not the same religion, we're not the same political stripe. There's a million other things you can talk about. You don't have to argue on Facebook.
Words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand correct. How dumb are you? You hired me 4 times. You can go to William Morris and get the things, because I know you all are going to be looking.
The audience gasped. This wasn't just another celebrity spat. It was a turning point that could change The View forever. Viewers couldn't look away as the show spiraled further out of control. In a last-ditch effort to salvage the situation, the producers finally cut to commercial, but the damage was done. As the cameras stopped rolling, the tension on set was palpable. The hosts sat in stunned silence, the weight of what had just transpired hanging heavy in the air. When the show returned from the break, the atmosphere had shifted. The hosts attempted to regain composure, but the cracks in their united front were impossible to ignore. Viewers at home could sense the change, knowing they had just witnessed a pivotal moment in daytime television history. In the days that followed, The View's attempts to downplay the incident were telling. They selectively edited clips for social media, disabling comments to control the narrative. But the internet never forgets, and viewers who witnessed the live meltdown weren't buying the sanitized version. Just when you thought the drama was over, the real fireworks were about to begin. As the cameras stopped rolling on The View, social media ignited with a fury that would make even the hottest gossip look like old news. Within minutes of the episode ending, clips of the Maher Whoopi showdown spread like wildfire across the internet. Viewers couldn't get enough of the explosive confrontation, and soon everyone was weighing in. Twitter transformed into a battlefield of memes, hashtags, and hot takes. Fans and critics critics alike couldn't resist sharing their opinions on the epic clash between two of television's biggest personalities. The internet was divided, with thousands praising Maher for his calm yet assertive stance, while others rallied behind Whoopi. It wasn't just everyday users getting in on the action. Celebrities quickly joined the fray, taking sides and fanning the flames of controversy. As the online storm raged, The View's social media team found themselves in a desperate scramble. They tried to control the narrative by editing clips to downplay Maher's strongest points while amplifying Whoopi's responses. But their attempts to spin the story backfired spectacularly.
It's a lot about the electorate and a lot about the Democratic Party and what they've been doing wrong. They're very concerned with issues that the people are a little beyond.
26 years old like that and you're doing political material, the audience kind of looks at you like, what do you know about it? And they're kind of right.
Existentially threatening as what Trump is threatening? Of course not. So, but generally he's doing fine, and he's got a lot more done substantially, legislatively.
Unedited footage spread even faster, exposing their tactics and fueling more outrage. It seemed like every move they made only made things worse. The comment sections across social media platforms turned into all-out war zones. Whoopi's supporters and critics engaged in heated debates, hurling arguments back and forth. The confrontation had clearly struck a nerve, touching on deeper cultural divides that went far beyond just another celebrity spat. People weren't just talking about what happened on the show, they were using it as a launching pad for broader discussions about politics, free speech, and the role of media in society. Meanwhile, media outlets smelled blood in the water. They raced to be the first with exclusive behind-the-scenes information, each trying to outdo the others with juicy tidbits and insider perspectives. Anonymous sources suddenly popped up everywhere, claiming to have the real scoop on what went down before and after the cameras rolled. The hunger for more details about the confrontation seemed insatiable. But here's where things got really interesting. As the day wore on, conspiracy theories started to circulate about why Maher had really appeared on The View in the first place. Some speculated that it was all a planned stunt to boost ratings. Others wondered if there were deeper motives at play, with shadowy figures pulling strings behind the scenes. The wilder the theory, the more traction it seemed to gain online. You won't believe what happened next. As night fell and the dust began to settle, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just another forgettable TV moment. Industry insiders were already calling it the biggest television event of the year. The confrontation between Maher and Whoopi had struck a chord that resonated far beyond the usual daytime TV audience. It had become a cultural touchstone, a moment that people would be talking about for weeks to come.